There's a light in the woods behind my house. It only turns on when I'm alone. The first time I saw it, I assumed a neighbor had put up a security light. We don't have neighbors. The nearest house is 2 miles up Route 9, and the woods behind mine belong to nobody, according to the county. I checked. The light is small and warm, like a porch light, and it sits at eye level between the trees, maybe 80 yards past the tree line. It turned on at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, and it turned off the moment my wife's headlights came up the driveway. I didn't think anything of that part until the third week, when I started writing the times down. October 2nd, on at 10:54, off at 12:21, the minute Sarah got home from her shift. October 5th, on at 11:12, off at 11:58, when my brother stopped by unannounced to borrow the chainsaw. October 9th, Sarah asleep upstairs. The light stayed off all night. Asleep apparently doesn't count. It knows the difference between alone and lonely, is what I'm saying. It has never once been on while another waking person was inside this house. I showed Sarah the notebook. She did the thing she does where she gets very calm and very kind, which is how I know she's worried, and she offered to call in to work so we could watch for it together. The light did not come on that night. Of course it didn't. She works 4 nights a week. It came on all 4. The notebook filled up. I bought a trail camera, the kind hunters strap to trees, and I walked out there on a Saturday afternoon with Sarah on the porch watching me, because those were the rules I'd worked out: daylight and a witness. There is nothing at 80 yards. No pole, no wires, no clearing. There's a low stone foundation a little further in, the kind old farmhouses leave behind, with a square of rotted boards where a porch might have been. I strapped the camera to a maple facing it and walked home, and I felt watched the whole way, which I told myself was normal. It probably is normal. The camera takes a photo whenever something moves. In the morning, it had taken 411 photos. The first 40 are deer. The rest are the light on, in the dark, exactly where the old porch would have been. In every photo, it's a little closer to the camera. Not moving toward it, closer, the way a thing is closer when you wake up and the furniture isn't where evening left it. The last photo was taken at 4:44 a.m. and it's washed out, the whole frame white gold and soft, the way a picture looks when something warm is held directly against the lens. Sarah found me a new job posting that week. 2 towns over, day shifts only. I didn't argue. The house went up for sale in November and sold fast, to a single man about my age who shook my hand in the driveway and said the property felt peaceful. I left him the notebook in the kitchen drawer with the takeout menus. I think about him a lot. Some nights, when Sarah's at her mother's and the new apartment gets quiet, I catch a warmth in the corner of my eye from the parking lot, and I don't look. I want to be clear that the new apartment faces a parking lot. There are no woods for a mile in any direction. The street light's out there in white. The light in the corner of my eye is not. I work night security in a 5-story building. The elevator has a button for a 6th. The Harlan building has 5 floors. You can count them from the street. I've done it more than once. At 3 in the morning, standing on the sidewalk in the rain like an idiot. 5. The elevator panel has 6 buttons. The 6th one is below the others, slightly apart, worn smooth and shiny the way brass gets when it's been pressed 100,000 times. There's no number printed on it anymore, if there ever was one. My first week, I asked Marcus, the guard I was replacing, what it went to. He was 60-something, retiring, very tired in a way I now understand. He said, "That's the basement button." And I said, "The basement button is right there, marked B." And he looked at me for a long second and said, "Then I guess nobody knows, and don't press it." And that was the entire conversation. The button doesn't light up when you press it during the day. I checked daytime, with the building manager standing right there. "Dead. A relic," she said from the old panel, but the motion sensors don't know that. My job is mostly a screen with 12 camera feeds and a sensor log that timestamps movement floor by floor. Floor 2, 1:14 a.m., cleaning crew. Lobby, 2:03 a.m., me, getting coffee. And then most nights between 2:40 and 3:15. Floor 6, motion. Floor 6, motion. Floor 6, motion. There is no camera labeled floor 6. I want to be clear that I have never gone looking for whatever floor the sensors think they're watching, because I am not a main character. I am a man with a flashlight and a mortgage. I wrote it up. Maintenance closed the ticket with the words sensor mislabeled, which would be comforting if the mislabeled sensor didn't also log a door held open for 6 minutes every year on March 4th. I checked the records back as far as they go. 11 years, March 4th, 6 minutes. Every time, 2:51 a.m. Last spring, they hired a second guard for weekends. A kid named Dario, 22, very confident, the kind of confident that presses buttons. I told him what Marcus told me. I watched him not listen the same way I once didn't listen. On a Sunday in March, I came in to relieve him and found the lobby empty. His radio was on the desk. His coffee was still warm, which I keep coming back to, because the camera showed him getting into the elevator at 2:49 a.m., and they showed the doors closing, and they did not show the elevator arriving anywhere. I found him at 6:40 in the morning, sitting on the floor of the car with his back against the mirror, awake, calm, hands folded in his lap like a man in a waiting room. He didn't have his shoes. We never found his shoes. He looked up at me and asked one question, very politely, the way you'd ask a nurse. He said, "Which floor did you find me on?" I said, "The lobby." He nodded like that was the wrong answer, but he'd expected it. And he stood up, and he clocked out, and he never came back. He left his last paycheck. The elevator's sixth button is a little shinier than it used to be. I work alone again now, which the company apologized for. They shouldn't. Last week, the building manager sent a memo about the renovation budget, and there it was, halfway down a bulleted list between new lobby tile and upgraded panel. Elevator modernization, they're replacing the panel in June. 5 buttons and a B. I've started bringing Marcus's old thermos to work. I don't know how to explain this part. I just have a feeling that whatever has been getting out at floor 6, a new panel doesn't change where the building goes at 2:51 in the morning. It just takes away the button. And I think the button was a courtesy. I think it was how it asked. I hosted late night radio for 9 years. The same man called every night at 3:13 to give me tomorrow's weather. Small station, AM band, the kind of overnight show that exists so truckers and insomniacs know the world hasn't ended. I took calls, mostly regulars. Carl with the conspiracy theories, a widow named Dot who just wanted the company. And at 3:13 every night, the weatherman, that's what I called him, never gave a name. Older voice, dry, unhurried, always the same script. Tomorrow, he'd say, partly cloudy, wind out of the northwest, rain by evening. Then he'd hang up. No small talk, no request, 11 seconds, click. I used to thank him on air and joke that he was more reliable than the actual forecast. It took me an embarrassingly long time, almost a year, to notice that he was also more accurate. Not usually accurate, always. The station ran the official forecast at the top of every hour, and some mornings the official forecast and the weatherman disagreed. And on those mornings, I learned to bring an umbrella based on the 3:13 call, because the weatherman had never once been wrong. Hail on the 4th of July, a fog bank in late August that the Weather Service never saw coming, and that closed the interstate for 9 hours. He called it the night before. Dense fog after midnight, he said. And then, for the first time ever, he added something. He said, "Stay off the highway, son." I did. 11 people didn't, and one of them didn't go home. I started trying to keep him on the line after that, asked him where he was calling from. Silence then, nearby, asked how he knew. Silence then, I just read what's in front of me in the click. The phone system logged every caller ID except his. Ours showed his calls as coming from the station's own number, which our engineer said was impossible, in a way that made him not want to look into it further. And honestly, fair. 9 years. Then last March, the station got sold, the format flipped to syndicated sports, and my last show was a Thursday. I said goodbye to Carl and to Dot, and at 3:13 the board lit up and I felt genuinely emotional about it, which sounds stupid, a man crying a little at a weather report. Tomorrow, he said, clear skies, cold morning, and then he paused, longer than 9 years of pauses, and he said, fog on Miller Road, just for you, just around the curve by the reservoir. 2:40 in the morning. Take the long way home, son. Click. Miller Road was my way home. Had been for 9 years, the curve by the reservoir and all. I sat in the parking lot after sign-off for a long time, and then I took the long way, 20 extra minutes, clear skies the whole drive, feeling like a fool. The morning news had it before I woke up. A pickup had gone through the guardrail on Miller Road at the curve into the reservoir. The driver was the host of the new syndicated overnight slot, driving the route I would have driven at 2:40 in a patch of fog the Weather Service couldn't explain. Localized, they said, unusually dense, no broader system behind it. I don't host radio anymore, but I kept my old habit of being awake at 3. And here's the thing I actually came here to write down. 2 weeks ago, my cell phone rang at 3:13 in the morning from my own number. I didn't answer. It rang again the next night and the next, and I haven't answered yet, and I know that eventually I will because it's him, and because the weather has been getting strange here lately, and because I think the calls were never about the weather, I think they're a subscription. I think 9 years ago somebody else stopped answering, and the fog needed somewhere to go. Every night at 3 a.m., someone tries my apartment door. I finally put up a camera. It started small, the way these things do. A sound at the edge of sleep, metal on metal, soft. I live alone in 4B of an old brick building, the kind with radiators that bang and hallway lights on a timer. So for the first month, I filed it under building noises and went back to sleep. Then one night, I was already awake at 3, lying there doing the math on my life the way you do at that hour, and I watched the doorknob turn, slowly, so all the way to the stop, held there for a moment, and released, polite almost, the way you'd check a door you didn't want to wake anyone behind. I did not open it. I lay there cataloging every horror movie character who opens it, and I kept that inventory going until the radiator banged at 6 and the world came back. The super, Gus, told me kids. The hallway camera in the lobby covers the lobby, nothing upstairs, and Gus is a man who has chosen, professionally, to be incurious. So I bought one of those little battery cameras and stuck it above my door frame, angled down the hall. Motion alerts to my phone. First night, nothing. Second night, 3:02 a.m., motion detected, and I watched the clip with my heart going, and it showed an empty hallway. Empty. And at the 11-second mark, my doorknob turns. On camera. Nothing in front of the door. The hallway light doing its flicker, the carpet, the fire extinguisher on the wall, and the knob turning gently to its stop and easing back. I watched that clip maybe 40 times. I sent it to my sister, who said it was the building settling, and to my friend Dev, who works in video and said the compression looked normal, and his honest advice was move. I did not move. Rent control does things to a person's survival instincts. Instead, I added the chain, one of those reinforced ones, and for a while the clips were just the knob. Every night, 3:01, 3:02, 3:04. I stopped watching them live. You can get used to anything, that's the real horror story. Then in February, the clip was different. The knob turned, stopped, and then the deadbolt moved. I watched the little thumb latch on my side rotate on its own, smooth, like a hand I couldn't see was turning a key I couldn't see, and the door opened 2 inches until the chain caught it and held. 60 film seconds of my door resting against the chain, open onto dark, and then it closed gently, and the deadbolt turned back, locked, courteous. In the morning, there was a key on my doormat. Old, heavy, the kind of key this building hasn't used since whatever renovation gave us the deadbolts. Gus didn't recognize it. Gus held it for exactly as long as it took to hand it back, and then he told me with the energy of a man finally spending information he had been saving for years, that 4B used to be the building manager's unit 60 years ago, and the manager was the only tenant who had a key that opened every door. A master key, he said. They never found it when the man died. He died, Gus said, in the hallway outside his own door, of a heart attack, trying to get in because someone had chained it from the inside. Nobody was ever found inside the apartment. The chain was my idea, is the thing. The chain is new. I think about that a lot, around 3 in the morning, which is when I'm awake now every night, listening. The knob still turns. I haven't used the key, but I keep it on my nightstand now instead of the junk drawer, and I genuinely could not tell you why, except that it feels rude somewhere deep in my spine to keep a man's key from him. And last night, for the first time, the sound was different. Not the knob, the chain, lifted softly and let down, like something measuring it, or saying thank you. The kid I babysit has an imaginary friend, Tonight I found out he knows my name. I babysit a 6-year-old named Theo on Sycamore Lane Tuesdays and Fridays, while his parents do a standing dinner with friends. Theo's a great kid, polite, sleepy by 8, obsessed with drawing. The fridge is wallpapered with his work. The usual kid stuff, the house, the D, mom and dad as smiling potatoes with stick arms. And in every drawing off to the side, there's the tall one. That's what Theo calls him. A long, thin figure always drawn in gray crayon, always standing apart from the family, head slightly too big, arms slightly too long, no face. Kids draw weird stuff. My little brother drew nothing but angry suns for a year. But the tall one is consistent, drawing after drawing, always the same distance from the family. And when I asked Theo about him in September, he said, very matter of fact, that's my friend. He lives here, and went back to his juice. His parents think it's adorable. They have a bit about it, the world's quietest roommate. Dad jokes about charging him rent. I laughed too, the first month. The tall one stopped being funny to me, personally, on a Friday in October when Theo, half asleep on my shoulder while I carried him up to bed, mumbled, he doesn't like that you can't see him. I asked what he meant, and Theo was quiet long enough that I thought he was asleep. And then he said, he stands really close to you and makes faces, and you never do anything, and it hurts his feelings. And then he was asleep for real, and I stood in that hallway under the good bright hallway light for a while, not moving. I started keeping the TV off after Theo went down. You want to be able to hear the house. November, I was looking for a missing puzzle piece and found, at the bottom of the toy chest, a folder of older drawings. Same house, same dog, same gray tall one. But the babysitter in the pictures wasn't me. It was a girl with red scribbled hair, and there were notes on a few of them in adult handwriting. Little dates, the way you annotate a kid's art before you save it. The dates were from 3 years ago. I asked Theo's mom casually about the old babysitter when she got home. She said they'd had a setter named Becca for about a year, sweet girl, and then one night she just texted them mid-shift to come home and never came back. Wouldn't say why, wouldn't return calls. They tipped her last check generously and let it go. People are flaky, she said. Sure, people are flaky. Here's where I should have stopped digging and didn't. Last Friday, Theo was asleep, parents not due for 2 hours. I went back into that folder and went through every page to the bottom. And the last drawing wasn't like the others. It was newer, the crayon still waxy and bright. It was this living room, detailed. The corner lamp, the green couch, the window dark behind it. A person sitting on the couch with a phone glowing in her hand. Brown scribbled hair. My hair. And the tall one wasn't off to the side. He was drawn directly behind the couch, bent forward at the waist, head lowered over the person's shoulder, long arms hanging down on either side of her like a coat draped over the backrest. And along the top, in Theo's careful kindergarten letters, sounded out the way kids do, it said my name, not babysitter, my actual name, which I have never once heard Theo say out loud. Under the date, Friday's date, that Friday, I am writing this from the couch because the drawing is of me on the couch and some animal part of my brain has decided that as long as I don't turn around, the page and the room stay separate. The parents are due at 11. The lamp just flickered once, the way a light flickers when something passes it, and I wanted on record that the last thing Theo said tonight, sleepy, at the top of the stairs was, he likes you way better than the last one. You stay still really good. There's a stretch of Route 17 where every odometer counts backwards. Locals say don't be on it when yours hits 0. I drive a delivery route through farm country, and Route 17 between mile marker 40 and mile marker 47 is the fastest way across the valley. So I take it most nights, and most nights it costs me nothing but the mileage. Which is the joke, see, because on that stretch, the mileage pays you. The odometer counts down. Mine, the relief driver's, my manager's Corolla, the one time he rode along to prove us wrong. 7 miles of highway, and the numbers roll backward, gently, clicking off miles you've already lived. And when you pass marker 47, the odometer shrugs and goes back to normal. No harm done. Total unchanged. Mechanics around here won't even pretend to look at it. The old-timers at the diner in Harlow have a whole liturgy about it. Don't reset your trip meter on 17. Don't do the math on what it's counting. And the big one, the one they don't joke about, the one Earl the cook said to me, flat and quiet like a man reporting the weather. If it ever counts down to zero on you, son, you be someplace else when it gets there. I asked Earl what happens at zero. He refilled my coffee and asked if I wanted pie. And in Harlow, that means the conversation is ended. For 6 years, it was a party trick. Then last January, the interstate closed for ice and dumped everyone onto the valley roads. And I got stuck on 17 at 1 in the morning in dead fog, crawling behind a salt truck, doing 4 miles an hour through the 7 backwards miles. Plenty of time to watch the numbers. Plenty of time to notice that my odometer, which had been at a 188/912, was coming down through the hundreds. I did the thing Earl said not to do. I did the math. At 4 miles an hour in that fog, the zero was going to land right around marker 44. And if you grew up here, you know what used to be at marker 44 because your parents stopped there for root beer when they were kids. The Pinewood Rest Stop closed and demolished in 1908 after, and I'm quoting my mother's exact words from my childhood, after what happened there, which is all anyone's mother ever said about it. The salt truck turned off at the county road. The fog ate its taillights, and I rolled toward 44 alone, watching double digits become single digits, telling myself it's an odometer, it's gears and a magnet. It cannot summon a building. The fog thinned right where the old turnout used to be. I want to be careful here and only say what I saw. I saw the Pinewood Rest Stop lit, fluorescent white, humming, a full parking lot, cars with shapes I haven't seen since I was a kid, and people, 24, maybe more, standing in the lot and along the walkway, perfectly still, evenly spaced, all of them facing the road, facing me, not menacing, waiting, the way a crowd looks when a parade is late. My odometer read 0003. I did not stop. I put my foot down and took that delivery van up through the fog faster than I will ever admit to my manager, and I watched the marker 44 light wash past. And at 00, every dash light in the van came on at once, just for a second the way they do when you first turn the key, like something checking the ignition, like something asking, politely, is this one mine? Then marker 47 and 188,205, counting up, world without end. I take the long way now, 20 minutes extra, every night, and I'd take 40. Because here's the part I can't let go of. The new vans came in March, all digital, no gears, no magnet, nothing to be fooled. And when the relief driver took one down Route 17 on a dare, the odometer didn't count backwards. It just went dark between 40 and 47. 7 miles of dashes, even the computer won't count it. I asked Earl about that last week over pie. He said the old cars borrowed your miles and gave them back. He said the new ones can't pay the toll. And then he told me the diner's closing in August, him retiring. And you know what he said when I asked what he'd do with himself? He said he was thinking of getting the old root beer stand going again. Out by 44, said it the way a man says something he's already agreed to, said they've been waiting on him to open back up.